Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica, and today we're taking a renewed look at Force 5 because it is now available on the Dreamcast. And I've taken a look at this game twice before, first when I got the unported arcade ROM that had just been released, and then when I compared it to Jinji Storm, the game that it finally became. And it seems like based on comments that I read online and that people leave for me, they prefer this game to Kenju, which is very surprising, but no judgments there, it's just an opinion. Before I get too far involved though, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely help us out. If you feel so inclined, we got a Patreon link down there as well if you want to support the channel. But since this is the third video I've done on this game, I have played it a good amount now. And I'm starting to get a better hang for what the game really is, and I am learning some characters that I like and learning some of the moves. And it's definitely a learn as you go process because there is no moveset for this available online, so you can't look it up and try to train yourself into being able to put those inputs in correctly. You're just kind of learning as you go. And it seems like some characters still have more moves than others, and that's obviously because this still is an unfinished game, but the more I play it, the more I start to understand what it's supposed to be. This is basically like Virtua Fighter meets Tekken. It has a lot of the same input styles as Virtua Fighter, but it wants to be as fast as Tekken, and in some ways it's even faster. But this game definitely runs at a lock 60 frames a second, and when you're playing well and everything's moving around fluidly, I get why people really enjoy this game. Now I definitely prefer Kenju over it, but for completeness and to give Force 5 the most fair look, I am doing this video for the Dreamcast conversion. And it's one of those things, it could have been a really good fighting game had it been finished. And of course, the assets ended up getting purchased and turned into Jinji Storm. I'll leave a link to that video down below if you want to see what it actually became. And they kind of ruined the game by making it an anime waifu disaster. I mean, I don't understand why they put that in games. Everyone has their own thing. It's just not for me. But had Force 5 actually been finished and all the movesets added in, I could see this as being a really solid B-tier fighter. It's never going to compete with Virtua Fighter or Tekken or Street Fighter, but when you get below that tier, this would have been a really good 3D fighting game. And it's just, your mileage isn't going to vary on this one. If you really love fighting games like me, especially 3D fighters, you're going to find something to love in this game. If it's not a genre that you like that much, this is definitely not a place to enter because it really isn't good. If you want to play a solid 3D fighting game on the Dreamcast, get Soul Calibur or get Virtua Fighter 3 Team Battle and start there. This should be what you play when you've run out of things to play. But I do like the special moves and everything, although sometimes they definitely glitch out and the camera just goes wild. It looks kind of fun, but it's definitely not intended, and I'm really not sure how they have elephants that high up in the mountains, because this looks like Peru, and they just have an elephant. Random aside, but you can definitely see that the designers didn't really know the locations, because it kind of looks like Peru and India at the same time. What you are looking at graphically does look good for the Dreamcast. It's definitely not the best visuals ever seen on the console, but it's nice enough. And I do love these animations when you lose and count that timer down. They have put a lot of different things into the game for you to look at. Now on the downsides, the sound is just completely screwed up on this game, and that's because it was unfinished. It definitely clips a lot, and I've had to turn the levels down to make it pop less. But if you're playing this on your actual Dreamcast, I definitely recommend you keep the speakers low, because when it clips, it can make some really headache-inducing noises. But if you like these type of games, definitely check it out. And now that it's available for Dreamcast, a lot more people are going to be able to get into it. And I'd love to hear your comments below if you have played. You know, what moves have you figured out? Because a lot of times I'm just doing something, I'll execute a special move, and I don't know what I did. I don't really feel like I did anything different than what I'm normally playing, and maybe the game is just giving it to me. But like I said, it's fun to have this game on Dreamcast. I still can't believe that most people enjoy it more than Kenju. Maybe they need to take a closer look at Kenju, or maybe I'm just wrong on this one. But if you played them both, tell me below which one you preferred, because I really would be curious. But it's great when these unreleased games do come out, because for the longest time, this and Kenju just existed in private collectors' hands, and then early last fall, they finally started trickling out. I received them in early October, and I was able to do videos on them and check them out. But I love the fact that now, if you own a Dreamcast with an optical disc emulator, you can play this. And that's what I hope that happens with all the unreleased games, because there are a few unreleased Atomiswave games, a driving game based in gangsters in Chicago, and then a soccer game as well, that are still undumped. So maybe at some point in time, we'll actually have access to those, because until those two games come out, we'll never have the full Atomiswave library available, whether it's on an Atomiswave or on a Dreamcast. So hopefully that does happen at some point in time. But to be able to play this is a ton of fun, and I play it more, I get better at it, I keep thinking I don't like it, but then I end up continuing to play for another hour or so, and I think that's what Force 5 has done to me. It's made me a fan of it when I really didn't want to be. I think that's the highest praise I can give the game, is that when I first came in to play this, I just saw it as an unfinished fighting game that I couldn't quite figure out and that I really wasn't enjoying. But now that I've had some time with it, I actually think it's fine, maybe even decent. But watch this next round, enjoy the soundtrack for what it is, and I'll be back in about a minute and finish out the Odyssey story of how Force 5 got to Dreamcast. Enjoy! So the best part about Force 5 is that it exists, because I never thought that it would. I had seen photos of this, I had seen a few videos that were shot off arcade monitors. Everyone knew that it was a game that were in collectors' hands, but we never thought we'd end up getting the chance to play it. And that is what's amazing about the retro gaming community and kind of the dedication. Someone was able to finally get a hold of this and dump it, they sent it to me and some other people, and now we're playing it on Dreamcast. And the hope is that things like this will continue to happen, because we don't get these new games if people aren't willing to dump them and share them with the community. And the fact that we're playing Force 5 is enough to say it's great. It is not the perfect fighting game. It's not even a relatively good fighting game. It's decent at best, and the more I play it, the more I seem to enjoy it. But that's not really because it gets better, it's just because I get more used to it and I spend a lot of time with it. But not every game on a console is going to be a AAA title. You're going to have things like Force 5s, and that's fine, but I'm glad that we have them available to play. And that's been, a huge thanks to MegaVolt 85 again for making this happen, because before that, you needed to emulate this on a NAOMI NetBoot system on your computer, or you had to actually have a NAOMI NetBoot set up, which I do have, but that's not something that's going to be really prevalent. Now anybody with a Dreamcast and optical disc emulator is going to be able to enjoy this, so that numbers of people that can play it are definitely going to be a lot higher. But if you haven't checked Force 5 out yet, definitely do. Don't expect a ton from it, but it is still going to be a lot of fun. And if you haven't checked out Kenju yet, 100% go and play that, because that is a fully finished, unreleased fighting game that now runs on Dreamcast that you're going to have a ton of fun playing. But I swear this is the last time I'm going to talk about Force 5. Unless somebody finds a new beta that's finished and doesn't have all the problems this one does, I see no reason to revisit it. But considering it's now available on Dreamcast for completeness of the Atomiswave to Dreamcast conversion series, I definitely did want to talk about it. But short of that, we will be back next Wednesday with another episode in the Atomiswave to Dreamcast series, and we'll have videos on Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday as well. But again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I love chatting with you guys and answering each and every one of them. But like I said earlier, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I promise I'll never talk about Force 5 again. Unless you guys want me to, because it really does seem like you prefer this one over Kenju, and if you do, please explain why below, because I just don't get it, but hey, that's just me. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.